Welcome to Care Lab.
No. This isn't Care Lab. This is Care Lab Hot Takes.
Okay, so what are hot takes?
Hot takes are when we talk about a caregiving issue that is happening right now, affecting us now.
Oh, so let's get started. And if you like what you hear, make sure you like and subscribe. Okay, I have a hot take. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so just yesterday, this week, the Trump administration said that they feel like caregiving is unaffordable in this country. Agree?
Completely agree.
However, the way that they want to deal with that is by rolling back labor protections for caregivers.
What does that mean?
That means at some point, during Obama's administration, apparently before Obama's administration, caregivers could be paid under minimum wage and did not have to get paid overtime.
Are you talking about family caregivers or professional caregivers?
Professional caregivers.
Gotcha.
Who are getting paid.
Okay.
So they were allowed to work without getting minimum wage if that happened together. And they could work overtime hours without being required to have overtime pay.
Whoa.
So
that is a hard job.
It's a super hard job.
Okay.
And we do this for every other worker, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then in 2018 or whatever, they made a specific rule that caregivers, home caregivers, need to fall under the same categories as everybody else.
That makes
so if
a
the
lot
minimum
of
wage
sense.
is in your state, it needs to apply, and they need to be able to pay. And so that drove up costs for the home care agencies.
Yeah, of course it did.
Because they had to pay them more, but also they need to get paid.
Yeah.
And so the answer that the Trump administration has at this moment is that they want to roll back those protections, which means the caregivers get paid less, which means theoretically the in-home care companies can charge less, and therefore it'll be more affordable for families.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Do you have a hot take you want to take on this first?
No, I laid it out for you. You start.
Okay, so here's what I would say is actually this issue, as most issues are, is probably more complicated than it seems at face value. Besides the rule that happened in 2018, which I clearly also just became aware of, the other thing that's really driven wages higher in home care is what happened over COVID and the need for more home care workers, and frankly the fact that there was so much job dissatisfaction. There was so much movement around. There were so many people who left their communities, their residential communities they were living in order to go back to a home and get individualized care because of the things that were going on then. Not to mention inflation in general, right? Increasing the cost of living. Yep. There have been lots of demands placed on this industry that have caused these wages to go up. Again, understanding this is actually...
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
You're using a word that I think is not the right word.
What?
You're saying that's caused the wages to go up. I don't think it's caused the wages to go up. It's caused the cost to go up, but the wages have not kept up with the costs that are being charged to the customers.
Oh, well, I think that actually probably depends on the market that you're in.
Fair.
So I work with a lot of non-medical home care agencies through higher standards caregiver training. And obviously, not all home care agencies pay the same amount.
True.
But a lot of the really great ones that I work with paid their caregivers well above the minimum wage in order to have really great, more qualified caregivers on their team. And so that definitely was a part of what drove costs up for the consumer as well.
Got you. Because in order to make sure they can keep workers, you got to pay them. And if you don't pay them well, then they're going to go to the next company.
Exactly.
And take their skills somewhere else.
Exactly. And there's so much demand in the non-medical home care world that caregivers really can be pretty mobile. Also, a lot of times it's hard for caregivers to get a full set of hours from a single company. So sometimes they have to work for multiple companies, and that can kind of drive that sort of competition as well.
That's true. So do you think that the proposed rule change is going to do what they are anticipating will?
Probably not. I'm sure that there are probably some agencies that will use that to their advantage in order to reduce wages to workers to um, and to potentially pass those savings on to customers.
Mm-hmm.
There are probably some who will use that as a way to reduce pay to workers and then maybe will not pass that savings on to customers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are those, I think there are probably actually a lot of companies that really want to do a great job. They want to have good caregivers, and they actually do want to take care of their caregivers too.
Yes.
Who are going to continue to pay their caregivers these wages because it's the right thing to do. And so, do I think it's possible it could have an impact? Maybe, but I don't necessarily think it's getting down to. I don't think it's going to solve this problem. And to be clear, the affordability of professional caregiving is a really significant issue.
It is a really significant issue. So it's right to be addressed. I
Absolutely.
agree with that.
Yeah.
But just how you were talking about how it is complex, the demand is not going down. The demand is only going up. This is even why it's like at the president's desk, because people are complaining about it.
Right.
Because it is a big problem. And we're just going to need more caregivers. And there's already not enough caregivers doing the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there may be, like you said, there's a lot of home care agencies, but maybe they don't have enough clients at each one. It's just very like scattered and mixed, right?
It's a really complicated industry. It's something that on face value seems really simple, but actually there are so many moving parts in this industry. It's very, very complicated. It's filled with a lot of players, the vast majority of whom really want to do great work and take great care of people. But there isn't a baseline payment system set up to pay for this kind of care unless you have a long-term care insurance policy that covers in-home care. Or the VA will pay for in-home care, not necessarily carte blanche, but if the veteran qualifies for it and has the right service connection. Of course, Medicaid will pay for some in-home care, but that's kind of a different beast in and of itself as well.
Yes.
And so what we really see here is that we have a very important need in our society that we really just haven't worked out necessarily an equitable way to fulfill.
It's not unlike daycare.
Not unlike daycare. Yeah.
I mean, it's very similar in the fact that like we pay a lot for somebody to watch our kids. The workers don't necessarily get paid very much, and there's not enough of them, and they jump from place to place sometimes because they can get an extra dollar here. So you can't be mad about that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Right. And that is, it's different in that our aging population is growing, while not only because of daycare, but some level people are having less kids because it's less affordable to have kids.
Yeah.
And now we have that other problem of like the population is slated to be less, like we're under the birth rate we're supposed to be at. So it's another complicated industry. And so my hot take is this is not going to solve the problem in real life because there's still all these other outside demands. And that what we really need is some kind of innovation that helps the overhead for the companies be less. And I know people are going to be like, well, we need to get paid, like the staff that's not actually seeing patients. And there is work that needs to be done there. People have to market, people have to run a business. Like I do understand all those overhead costs.
Yeah.
But in some form or fashion, they've got to find some way to probably use technology to decrease the overhead costs so that you can charge an amount that allows the business to run, but also pays the caregivers what they're worth and allows the families to be able to afford it. Because the ways that we pay for care now is, like you said, it's on the ends of the spectrum. So it's either I have long-term care insurance, which usually tends to be the people who have the highest incomes in our country because they've been able to invest in long-term care insurance long ago, or people who are at the other end of the spectrum who don't have the resources and then qualify for Medicaid.
Yeah.
But that leaves this whole section.
Most people.
This is most people.
Yes.
And it's also called the forgotten middle. It's been studied, and like that is getting bigger and worse. So the impacts are getting worse. The people are not getting worse. The impacts are getting worse.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this is going to solve any problems. I think it's going to make it worse for worse for caregivers. I doubt that prices are actually going to go down in a meaningful way nationwide. Like you said, some companies might figure out a way and do that.
Yeah. But my guess would be that the vast majority of them probably won't be able to suddenly cut their caregivers pay from, let's say it's $15 an hour to sub $7.50 an hour. Like,
right.
They're just going to lose.
They're going to lose the caregivers. They're just going to go
caregivers, and they're going to lose all their business. So
yeah.
Anyway, it's a complicated problem. I definitely agree with you. Technology, as it is part of the solution for most things, is going to be a big part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
But it probably needs a multilateral, multifactorial approach if we really want to think about solving this problem in a way that is both effective and sustainable for our families and for our country in the future.
Totally, because I don't know if you've noticed, but in a capitalist society, prices don't usually go down.
I don't know if you've noticed, but we're getting older too. And at some point, this is going to be us.
Exactly.
So
we have to have some better, more all-encompassing solution.
Absolutely.
That has, a multi-pronged approach, like you said.
All right. That's our hot take.